What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts, Herman Desai, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, is Tad Desai. And Tad, we're coming close to, well, depending on when you watch this video, we have ended June and we have begun July. And so that just means we're just much
it's all
closer.
relative. It's all relative.
Exactly. It just means that we're just that much closer to, fantasy football league starting to draft. I mean, the season is obviously going to be a lot closer. Training camp, but we're going to be hearing news about that pretty soon. It's close, Tad. The season is close. Like, I'm excited.
It's that we're a month away from one of my favorite useless dates ever. And what I mean by that, it's the Hall of Fame game with the preseason, where it is one of the worst preseason games because it's way too early and none of the teams are prepared, but it's still football. And we are so close to it. I cannot wait. I can taste it already. It was funny. Even just today, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, should I start doing mock drafts? I almost started doing them. I don't even know if they're available, but I almost started doing them. Oh, okay. Well, don't tell me that. I'm about to go on vacation. I have a lot of free time. That could be dangerous.
Yeah, you're going to be doing some traveling to visit your family, obviously, over the 4th of July weekend. So, hey, if you need a break, then, just do a mock draft,
I will need a break. I'm about to spend 10 days with the family. I'm going to need a break. I love you guys. If you're listening, I love you.
So, but yeah, definitely. I mean, we're excited. We definitely want to make sure you're prepared. And so that's why we've been doing our new head coaching deep dive series. We're coming up on the last two here, Tad. With today's episode, we'll be covering Todd Bowles with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yep. I mean, once again, it's very similar to Dennis Allen, which we did in our previous episode, where it's like
similar but harder, man.
Making the organization. It's like
making notes for the Buccaneers was tough because it was like, what to expect. It's like, more of the same. So that's basically what my notes are going to be. So just be prepared, people.
Should be fun. But then also we have the Miami Dolphins. So we have both Florida teams. We're closing out our series with both Florida teams. Miami Dolphins hiring Mike McDaniel as their new head coach. So
McDaniels.
No, it's Mike McDaniel.
McDaniels.
No. We've already done Josh McDaniels. This is Mike McDaniel. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure. Between the two of us, I am the one who is always more sure about things.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, you better. But one thing you can definitely make sure you take their word for it is our partners BetOnline. They're the #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports info. I mean, you can find all the latest odds on news.
Are we sure there's not two of them?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Why are you interrupting the ad read? Come on, dude. So find all the latest odds and news and sports developments, including this year's Wimbledon finals. That's going on right now. You obviously got Major League Baseball. The All-Star game is happening in just a couple of weeks. You got the latest fighting news with MMA and UFC. And, of course, you got next season's early NFL future. So you got the win-loss records for all the 32 NFL teams. You got the MVP awards. You got all the various end-of-season awards there. Obviously, you got who's going to make the Super Bowl. Lots of things that you could be betting on. So head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code BELIEVE. That's capital BLEAV, and you'll get the 50% bonus and you'll be able to get into the action. I mean, that's the plain and simple of it. So make sure you use our promo code BELIEVE, capital BLEAV, with our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline, where the game starts. So,
and Amar, before you go ahead, I mean, like you said, the All-Star break is coming up for baseball. You and I are both big baseball fans. We may use those odds for a fun little show bet on who wins the home run derby. So
there you go. Yeah, the home run derby. And I think that's pretty much all that happens during the MLB All-Star weekend, right? There's a celebrity game, but I don't think you can bet on that one.
Celebrity game's always like 20 to 30 or who cares. Whatever, but yeah, the home run derby is where it's at. It's like the dunk contest with NBA.
The derby could be fun.
But yes, if we do, place our, bets on winners, those are the odds we're going to be using. Why? Because they are the best odds.
100%. That is accurate. So let's jump into our two final head coaches that we want to do a fantasy spin on here, Tad. As always, I'll pass it to you first. you obviously covered Todd Bowles with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, like you sort of alluded to, maybe there's not that much of a change, but I mean, they did bring in some new players in the offseason. Obviously, Todd Bowles is a little bit different of a head coach compared to Bruce Arians. So, why don't you break it down for us?
Okay, so the reason I'm doing the stretching for you, the YouTube audience, I actually wasn't planning on spending this long on his intro, but Todd Bowles has a fascinating background. So I'm going to try to go through this very quickly because I have a history of going long on these. Okay.
Not just on these.
Just leave me alone. All right. So Todd Bowles was a cornerback at Temple University under what coach, Amar, do you know?
Temple. No idea.
Bruce Arians.
Okay,
see, like I said, he
like
has a very interesting background, right? Yeah, so that's where the background started. So after going undrafted, coming out of Temple, he signed as an undrafted free agent with the Washington, and he then actually beat out, twice, according to everything I read. Twice he was in a position battle for the starting safety job, but he beat out the competition to secure his spot on the roster, and he was the starting spot. He was the starting safety for the Washington team that won Super Bowl 22 in 1988. They beat the Broncos by like 40 points, and the Broncos were 3-point favorites. So I had no idea Todd Bowles was Super Bowl champion. Well, as a player. Yes. Like that was we gotta clarify that. And guess what team he ended his career with?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Your San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, okay.
He was a 49er for a bit before they cut him, and then he ended it with the Washington. And it's the racial slurs, in case you don't get that joke. So after he was done with that, he bounced around a lot as defensive assistant in a couple colleges and NFL teams until, and I totally forgot about this, he was named the interim head coach after Tony Soprano. Sorry, excuse me. Soprano. Sorry. Sperano was fired, and that was a great joke. Don't shake your head. That was amazing.
No, let's move on.
Gonna give you some cement shoes. Just you wait. But anyway, after the Tony Sperano, pretty sure that's the. See, I've already confused myself.
Exactly.
This is why I
didn't want you to do it. Oh, jeez.
But after he was fired, he took over. Bowles took over as the interim head coach. Went 2-1 actually. So that was pretty impressive. He was not retained, so instead he went to the Eagles, where he's later named defensive coordinator. He got let go there. Again, he gets let go a lot of places, but it's never his fault. I feel very bad for him. So then he went to the Cardinals, where he was named defensive assistant coach of the year, and then he finally got a shot as the Jets coach, where his first year he had 10 wins as a coach, which is super impressive because do you know who his quarterback was that year?
Gino Smith?
No. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
That sort of attributes it. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So here's where I'll start going wrong for him. Is over the next 2 years, didn't go so great. He had some 5-11 records and a 4-10 record, 4-12 record, 4-12. Sorry, math. Mm-hmm. Do you want to know who his quarterback? So other than Ryan Fitzpatrick, guess who his 2 quarterback options were one of those years?
I remember one was, I think, Christian Hackenberg. I think he played a couple of seasons. The other one, I'm sticking with Gino Smith. Was he still on the team at that time?
No. Well, so Gino was, but he was like the backup, and then the whole jaw thing happened, and he got released. So the other, Bulls last year in New York was Sam Darnold's rookie year.
There you go.
So I really, really don't blame. So he finished in New York with a 24-40 record. I really, really don't blame Bowles for that. I think he took a lot more heat for that. Because, dude, the fact that you had Fitzpatrick, Geno Smith, Christian Hackenberg, and then Sam Darnold in his rookie year, and you still didn't finish with the worst record in the league, that's impressive enough on its own. I think so.
It does say something for sure, for sure. But I think one of the big problems, though, I remember during this time in New York was that he was a defensive-minded head coach, but the Jets' defense was never anything that improved year over year. It's like obviously the first year, it's like maybe there's a little bit of like adjusting,
Yeah.
understanding the scheme philosophy, but year over year, I don't think we saw consistent upgrades from that unit, which is probably one of the other reasons why that team why he ended up getting fired.
But we also didn't see consistent upgrades via personnel. Like you can only expect like if
Fair.
you just
No, that's true.
It's what's the Justin Long movie where if you hand someone a shit sandwich, they can only do it like make do for so long before they just end there. But anyway, so he was fired after that and then went to go coach under his former coach, Bruce Arians in Tampa Bay, where, I love this. This is my favorite note. Went back to coach under Bruce Arians in Tampa Bay as defensive coordinator, where he, of course, masterminded making the Chiefs his bitch in the Super Bowl. I mean, am I wrong?
Yeah, it's not wrong.
Yeah,
it's not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, look, that was a blowout that none of us saw coming. So clearly this guy can coach. And then, of course, because Tom Brady and Bruce Arians, I love this, that Bruce Arians shifted roles. No, Tom Brady came back. No one was expecting that. And Bruce Arians was like, I'm not doing this. And then backed out. Not that I can blame Bruce Arians. I'm sure that relationship has to be tough. So Bruce Arians is now in I'm trying to think of the mumbo jumbo they came up with, senior analyst role or something like that.
Yeah, advisory role.
Yeah, it's an advisory role. I think you're right. And now Todd Bowles has stepped up. So all in all, very, very interesting background. But I really, really like this guy. I think he is an excellent coach. He seems all of his players seem to really like him. I think this is going to be an excellent move for the Bucs. Weird that he steps in now, but excellent nonetheless. So moving on to his scheme, I won't spend any more time because like I said, I know that intro was kind of long. Look, his defensive scheme is good. The Buccaneers our defense is good. Draft them to be your starter. I mean, am I wrong here, Amar? It's good defense.
Yeah, the defense is going to be good. Obviously, Tom Brady
and an offense full of weaknesses as well.
Exactly. Tom Brady, ever since he's been in Tampa Bay, he's been a very consistent fantasy option at quarterback too. Leonard Fournette.
Don't give away my breakout player.
Okay, I'm sorry, but just like, there's a lot of promise there in Tampa Bay for sure still.
I was tempted to troll and be like, Tom Brady, breakout player, but I was like, even for me, that joke is just like too eye-rollish.
Can't do it.
No, can't do it. So going into their offensive coordinator, and I kind of did the forehead slap when I was like, who is the Bucs offensive coordinator? I was like, I can't believe I forgot this, but it's kind of because I thought he left. Byron Leftwich. So Byron Leftwich is returned as offensive coordinator because he had a lot of interest in the in several head coaching positions, but just didn't get it for some reason. Wonder what's going on there. Like almost there's a commonality going on. But anyway, so Byron Leftwich's system it was actually funny when I started looking into the advanced stats. He loves him some screen passes. So for the past 3 years, his percentage of screen passes run is like almost 7% higher than the league average. So he So he loves him some screen passes. Also, and will hardly be a surprise to fantasy owners, he hates him some running plays. His running plays, so the league average is about 45%. His is it was 33% last year. But the couple of years before that, it was hovering around the 40% range. And another thing he really loves is having 11 or 12 personnel on the field. And what that means is that tight end almost always going to be on the field. He loves having that tight end on the field. So basically all what this means is he loves the West Coast scheme. Sorry, I almost said West Coast zone. But
not quite.
Yeah, not quite. But I'm so used to saying the wide zone blocking scheme and all that crap that this is the first time I can ever say West Coast, and I think this entire series. But basically it's your typical Brady offense. So they're gonna keep it short, keep it going. They're going to run it sometimes, and then they're going to stretch it out with Mike Evans or someone else that I'm about to get into. So let's talk about some of the new faces that are going to benefit from this offense that basically, and this is the reason I'm not breaking it down, what you saw from the Bucs last year is what you're probably going to get this year. So a new face that I really think, and I'm not exaggerating, I'm not saying this for the podcast, I really do believe this. Maybe the most underrated signing of the offseason, Russell Gage. really look out for Russell Gage. That crap Atlanta offense, he finished as a 45th top receiver. And I know that doesn't sound impressive, but with the amount of crap that was going on there, that's pretty good. And Antonio Brown, in more than half the games he played, he scored he scored 10 or more points. So don't shake your head. I am trying to get through this quickly so I can give you more time to speak. The more time you judge me, the more time we waste on crap like this. My God, my own mother doesn't even judge me this hard. Give me a...
I don't know what you're doing. That's why.
Give me a break, my Lord. Anyway, so Antonio Brown in more than half of his games scored 10 or more points. So I think that Russell Gage, first off, he's it was funny. I was trying to think of how to word this. Russell Gage is more dependable. We'll go there. I had some choice words for Antonio Brown, but I came off kind of mean, so I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. So he's more dependable, but I think he'll fill out that same role. So really look out for Russell Gage to be a breakout candidate this year. The other one, this was the easiest pick of the lot, Cameron Brate. Gronk just recently announced, yeah, exactly. I had to do it. Gronk just recently announced he was retired. It's Tom Brady. Cameron Brate's the tight end. He's white. It's gonna end well there. So I think, and like I just said, Leftwich loves having Brate on the field almost every single play, 90%.
And also the big thing is, like you said, Rob Gronkowski retired, but also OJ Howard's no longer with the team. He's in Buffalo now, so. Mm-hmm. He's like the sole guy there.
Yeah, no, if you look at that tight end depth chart, it is surprisingly shallow. Actually, I'd love to tell you who the backups are, but I already forgot them. Like, it's not good. So, yeah, Cameron Brate. And don't forget, Brate was a solid fantasy starter before Gronk got there.
That's
so, I know he's older, obviously, but it makes sense for him to step back into that role. And then, of course, the final player, and again, this is kind of gimme, but Leonard Fournette. Leftwich is not like running the ball a lot, but with that running back depth chart kind of cleared out, now is the time for Fournette to finally step up and kind of claim that total. And he's a receiving threat too. So will he lose some touches to Keyshawn Vaughn? Probably with the receiving plays, but he is a receiving threat. So I really expect Leonard Fournette to step up in a big way, not in like a running back one big way, but like a solid RB2 kind of spot.
No, that's fair. And you also have to remember they re-signed Giovanni Bernard, so he'll probably eat up a lot of those pass catching downs as well. But even as limited,
I honestly, this is a future episode, but he's actually my pick for a surprise cut for the Bucs.
Interesting. That could happen. But regardless, as limited as Byron Leftwich likes to involve running games in his offense, even if all of that is going to Leonard Fournette, that just means more volume. And we've said this so many times on the podcast before. More volume for a player means more potential fantasy points for a player. So, yeah, Leonard Fournette's definitely going to have a big bounce back year, like you said, with the running back depth sort of cleared out behind him. He'll be more of a primary running back, very similar to his Jacksonville days, where it's like there were some guys behind him that took some touches away from him, but overall it's like he's the lead dog. He's going to get a lot of those touches and carries. So, yeah, I mean, no secret here. Tampa Bay offense is your boon for fantasy players to start for your roster. So, Tad will definitely break it more down in his article that should be coming out a little bit later here. But, yeah, good, very simple breakdown here. But let's switch it to another team in Florida here, as we sort of mentioned here, switching to the other conference with the AFC, and that's the Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers. This one's real interesting, Tad, because I remember we talked about this before, but Mike McDaniel has a history from Yale. Has a degree, from Yale in history.
Look who's tripping over the words now, hotshot. Look at that.
1 out of every 20 versus you, 10 out of every 12.
I think that's even being gracious.
That's being generous, exactly. But it's so interesting because it's like, yeah, he obviously went to school and he got his history degree, but through love of football, he found his way to get an internship in the NFL. He's been under Kyle Shanahan specifically for the past 9 seasons. So he's been with him at every stop along the way. He was there in Washington during that famous, not a lot of people talk about this and bring up the pictures of this coaching staff so many times. It's become a lot more of a famous coaching staff. It's that staff under Mike Shanahan during the early 2010s, where you had Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator, obviously. You had Sean McVay as the tight ends coach. You had Matt LaFleur as the quarterbacks coach. Keenan McCardell, very famous receiver, was the wide receivers coach, replaced by very popular Giants wide receiver Ike Hilliard, who became the wide receivers coach. And then, of course, Mike McDaniel was on that stuff, just soaking it all in with all of these future NFL head coaches and just brilliant minds on the offensive side of the ball. Kyle Shanahan obviously left to go coach in Cleveland for one season. Mike McDaniel followed him there. He went to Atlanta.
Shanahan was in Cleveland
for one season.
I actually did not know that.
Under Mike Pettin's staff. Yes.
Oh my God, Mike Pettin. Jesus.
Yeah.
We're doing a real throwback here.
Obviously, Kyle Shanahan then landed the job with the Atlanta Falcons, took them to a Super Bowl, and then now, obviously, with the San Francisco 49ers, Mike McDaniel followed him all those stops along the way.
Well, the Falcons were in half a Super Bowl.
Well, and then he was with the Super Bowl again with the San Francisco 49ers as well. He was in the NFC Championship game. So it's like, yeah, he was close a couple of times, but yeah, unfortunately just never was able to win the big one. But regardless, I mean, he's been under Kyle Shanahan for this long. We're definitely going to see some elements of that system being brought to Miami. One of the big things that Mike McDaniel was instrumental with the San Francisco 49ers specifically last season was the breakout of Deebo Samuel, because obviously the Niners suffered a lot of injuries in that running back room. They're like, what do we do? Mike McDaniel was the quote-unquote offensive coordinator, but mainly more the run game coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers. So he was very instrumental, in making Deebo Samuel more of a threat, not just in the passing game, but now in a running game as well. So that led to just his huge breakout. So we expect to see some of that creativity being taken into Miami now with all of the offensive weapons they acquired during the offseason. So like I said, there's not much to get into with his coaching philosophy. I think we expect to see a lot of the things that we saw under Kyle Shanahan probably implemented here in Miami as well. The big thing, obviously, is, I mean, Tad, you bring this up all the time in this coaching series, but the wide zone scheme. Like, I mean, this is the thing that made running backs successful.
It's the bread and butter, baby.
Exactly. So many running backs have succeeded under both Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan, just names that you didn't think would be successful. They found success in the system. That's going to get carried over to Miami. Obviously, Miami just never had a significant running attack during the time that Brian Flores was the coach. Even before that, too, they never had that consistent attack, that somebody they could rely on to really get the ball and run it and just, kill time stuff, right?
Who was the running back that broke off that 60-yard not Hail Mary, but the last second touchdown, the one where Gronk botched it as a safety?
Kenyon Drake.
I feel like that was their last real successful running back, to be honest.
Probably. So definitely,
I totally forgot he was a Dolphin. Holy crap.
Yeah. And then Arizona traded for him.
Well, I think of him more as a Cardinal. Exactly.
Yeah. So expect the running game to get a little bit of an overhaul. They signed pretty much every running back under the sun. They signed Chase Edmonds in the offseason.
News broken on the show.
Chase Edmonds signed in the offseason. Raheem Mostert, formerly of the 49ers. So we may see some, familiarity concepts there. He may get a lot of touches there. Sonny Michel was signed. They obviously still had Salvin Ahmed. They had Myles Gaskin. I mean, they have so many guys here. I don't think all these guys are going to maintain on the roster throughout the entire season. Probably once cut day comes towards
they're going to have 3 cornerbacks. They do. You got to make space for that somewhere.
So some of these guys are going to get cut, but I mean, there's a lot of depth there. I think McDaniel's really going to be able to build the running game that he wants with the talent that he has on that roster as of now, and obviously adjust that once we come closer to the preseason, see who's really separating themselves from the pack. But that's going to be the change. We're going to see some RPO concepts. I mean, that's pretty standard across the NFL too. Tua Tagovailoa is a guy that, he kind of needs to be able to see what's happening with the defense. I think Mike McDaniel is trying to simplify things for him to make it a lot easier for his quarterback, because we saw this with the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, when he was able to read the defense and make the smarter plays, the quick plays, that's where we saw him be a little bit more successful. When you're asking him to really take things and understand things a little bit, make things on his own, that's where we saw the struggle. So I think McDaniel's going to carry that over to Miami, obviously instill some confidence in the young quarterback, and hopefully that will lead him to, with that confidence, to then be able to make plays on his own. So I like that with the RPO concepts, the West Coast offense styles. I mean, lots of these guys that, something that we saw in San Francisco is that they have a lot of playmakers at every single position. So what they like to do is they like to spread out the defense, get the ball to their playmakers quickly, and then let the playmakers do something with the ball. So, I mean, this is very much prototypical West Coast concepts. So we'll see this, especially with all the speed that Miami added. We already talked about the running back, but they added Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle.
Wait, they had a fast guy? I didn't hear anything about this.
They added Cedric Wilson, who's a very underrated player.
Did they really? I'm not even kidding. I actually did not hear about that.
Yeah, so he's a really good wide receiver.
So basically, they're just trying to become the Chiefs.
Exactly. This is pretty much what they're recreating here. So I mean, we'll see what's going to carry over, obviously. But of course, they got Mike Giuseki at the tight end position. So I mean,
does this mean Tua's going to be the next Mahomes? Because that would be real. Whatever. Speaking of our ad reads, where are the odds on that?
That's the tipping point. How successful Tua Tagovailoa is. That's how good Miami is going to be. But just, yeah, I think we're going to see this offense really simplified to obviously get some more confidence under Tua, leverage the speed of the playmakers, the agility of these playmakers that they have, and obviously rely on the run game. This is what Mike McDaniel is doing in San Francisco. He wants to make sure he can establish that here in Miami as well. So that's going to be a forefront of this offense. So who stands to benefit? Well, the first one, Chase Edmonds. So I listed a bunch of running backs already, but you know what? Chase Edmonds was the first running back that they signed to their roster. So I think McDaniel sees something in him that he could probably leverage the most out of his talent base. In Arizona, surprisingly, he was not used that much. Like, I mean, it was a lot of James Conner. Before that, we already talked about it. Kenyon Drake was the primary guy. And then before that, before he was traded to Houston in that ridiculous trade for DeAndre Hopkins, David Johnson was leveraged as the primary guy during Chase Edmonds' rookie.
DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. That is just going to age worse and worse every year.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, it was pretty terrible. But
right,
regardless, I like Edmonds to sort of take the lead role in this running back by committee approach. He's a dual threat running back as well as a runner and as a receiver. So probably being targeted in the double-digit rounds, but I really like him as flex appeal. So definitely a good flex option for your roster as you're targeting your
a strong flex option or like a bench him and wait to see flex option?
Definitely add him to your bench, and I think he could, with the skill set that he has and the way McDaniel is going to use him, he will transform into a solid flex option for you, for sure.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
The next guy that I want to bring up is surprisingly a receiver, but not the receiver that you would think. It's actually Jalen Waddle. So Jalen Waddle was one of 10 receivers last season with over 100 receptions. Tyree Kill is obviously the burner in this offense. He's going to be the guy that takes the top off the defense. It's very similar to what we talked about with Denver, where it's like Courtland Sutt's going to be successful in that offense, but the guy who's going to get a lot of the receptions, the guy who's going to move the chains a little bit further down the field will be Jerry Jeudy. So in this case, Tyreek Hill is the Courtland Sutton, and Jalen Waddle will be the Jerry Jeudy. So, I mean, Jalen Waddle will be relied on more to move the ball down the field in the short gains, the receptions. But Jalen Waddle, very much just like Jerry Jeudy, he can also take the top off the field. Like, he has that speed to do it. So it
was weird because they actually didn't utilize that skill much last year.
Sure.
Like, they did at times, but for the most part, it was just like they kind of Jarvis Landry'd him. And yes, that is a verb now because it's basically like, hey, I know you could bust open this field, but go 3 yards. Just get us 3 yards. It was like, what are you doing? That's why you got 100 catches, because it was just like, run it, catch it, get tackled. And it was just weird.
And I think that's part of the problem is just the system was just not a good fit. They were not able to scheme open these home run plays that you're sort of alluding to here. That's why they sort of kept Waddle more inside probably 10 yards, maybe 15 yards at the most. But here with Mike McDaniel, I think when they're relying on the run game to build off the play action, that will lead to then those home run plays, which will hit for Tyreek Hill as well as Jaden Waddle. So I actually like Waddle a little bit more to benefit more from the system. Tyreek Hill's already a star in this league. I think he'll be just fine, but Waddle's a guy who could really improve on his skill set playing in the system. And then the last guy that I want to bring up, Mike Giuseki. I mean, we're talking about all these big names with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, the running game improving, but Mike Giuseki was underrated as a fantasy tight end last year.
Giuseki or Giuseki?
I heard this is not a bit. I heard Giuseki. Like, I mean, honestly, I
always say
different ways, so.
We'll need to figure this out. Okay, TBD. Mike G.
He finished as the 11th ranked fantasy tight end, so just outside the top 10. But I think with this system, we saw obviously what George Kittle was able to do in San Francisco's system. You have to look at this tight end depth where it's like you got Mike Giuseki, but behind him you got guys like Adam Shaheen and Durham Smythe. Not exactly receiving threats, but more blocking tight end. So it's like if they take on all the blocking duties, that just opens up Giuseki to take more of the receiving routes and becoming more of a playmaker in that sense instead of being reliant as being a blocker. Like, I'm pretty sure he's going to be used as a blocker too. Obviously, George Kittle relishes in being a great blocker. He's like, I don't care if I have no receptions. If I can lay out 5 guys with pancake blocks, I'm fine with that. So I think we may see some of that with Giuseki too. But being able to leverage him, especially in the red zone as well, I think Giuseki could see a really good boost. Possibly could finish inside the top 10 this season with the change in offensive style for sure. So
I always thought his name was Alex Shaheen. That's weird. But anyway, so no, I completely agree. And exactly like what you said with the George Kittle thing. Just the athletic tight ends, they can do just athleticism in general with any position on this in this offensive scheme. They can make do out of it. So that's why people are concerned and everyone's freaking out about that Tua short pass or to Tyree Kill, and they're like, "Oh my God, is this gonna work?" If Tua is throwing ducks everywhere, they're still gonna make it work, because don't forget, and I swear to God, if any fantasy person comes up to me is like, well, I knew he was going to be good. No, you didn't. Shut up. Anyone that said Elijah Mitchell was going to be good in fantasy last year is a goddamn liar. Like, that is an absolute lie. And we saw what this offensive scheme can do for, if you're a good athlete, they will make room for you and they will make you shine. So yeah, Giuseki, Mike G, Mikey G. He's a good one. I could see him blowing up pretty good.
Exactly. So that breaks down Miami.
We just took a Miami player and turned him into like Jersey guy. Like, Mikey G, what's up? I'll see you on the boardwalk.
Exactly. But yeah, that breaks down the Miami Dolphins to an extent. But yes, we will have an article for that out a little bit later, which dives into a little bit further about the Dolphins and what you can expect from them as far as a fantasy aspect is concerned. And of course, I think the biggest thing that people need to read these articles, Tad, we got those bold predictions with these teams. And,
baby.
You know, I haven't shared with you what my Dolphins one is, but it's pretty bold.
Okay, you've yet to really wow me. What was the one where you sent it to me and you were like, I think it was the Raiders one, and you're like, I got you on this one. I was like, yeah, I could see that. And you're like, damn it.
That is true. The Raiders one, I think, was the closest. But yeah, make sure you tune in to the LAFB Network website. That's where you have all of our
new and revamped website, by the way.
That's true. It is very new. It is very revamped. It looks very sleek and modern now. But yeah, we have all of the coaching articles coming up on that website. I mean, with a little bit of delay with some of our editing and things along those lines, but they will all be up there. And then, yeah, make sure you tune into the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us so you're always up to date with all the YouTube videos. And of course, the podcast. I mean, we still got that going on throughout the season. We're definitely going to be ramping it up with all the fantasy content to make sure you guys are prepped for your fantasy leagues as it comes around during the summer. Like I said, it's going to be here sooner than you think, guys. So you always want to be a little bit earlier than a little bit later. So get your leg up on the competition, guys. Follow us on Twitter. You got my handle, Amar Desai 23. You got Tad's Desai 94.
The scroll is just restarting right now.
Exactly. You got the Desai guys. And of course, we're going to be on Instagram posting some great graphics for rankings and, you know, so many other things that's going to be coming up on Instagram, on Twitter, on everything. And then Tad, I mean, I know we just broke down the new head coaching series, but I mean, I feel like we need to do something else for all the other coaches. I mean, what do you think?
I think we should.
Well, there you go. So
I think you're right. You're the head man in charge, so go right ahead.
I don't know about that. There are joint decisions here, but
you literally run the studio.
But definitely, guys, I know we broke down the new head coaching series, but all the other 22 teams that we have not covered yet, we may not have a YouTube video for, but we're definitely going to get some articles up breaking down their fantasy outlook. So, you know, if you're interested in the Bengals or the Rams or Tad's Colts or my Niners or the Eagles, we got you covered. It's going to be coming.
I almost turned my hat around and I realized I'm wearing a TCU hat, not my Colts hat.
Yeah, that doesn't quite fit this one.
That worked out so well.
But yeah, we will have you guys covered. Maybe a little bit different approach compared to the new head coaching series articles, but we will give you some good outlook and some good projections for some guys to and of course, I think the biggest thing, the bold predictions. We will continue with that with every single article. So yeah, we want to make sure you guys are prepared. But guys, make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're listening to everybody that's already doing it. I mean, guys, we really just can't thank you enough.
And guys, this will be our last episode before we go on a slight break for the 4th of July, but do not worry, we're coming back. And look, I promise all this teasing and everything, it will end well, because as soon as we get back, we are ramping up that fantasy impact. So guys, like Amar said, we are going to be talking position rankings, ADP rankings. We are going to be talking, which type of league is better, because I feel like we have to have that argument every year. So when we get back from 4th of July, it's going to be fantasy all the time. So get ready for that. We will help you prep for your draft. No one's better. PFF is a joke. Don't trust them. It's a deep state. That's the football deep state is PFF. But in all seriousness, we are going to help you prep for your draft all July. I can't wait. And you know what? Until then, enjoy your 4th of July. I want to say weekend, but just enjoy your holiday weekend. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So enjoy your 4th of July, everyone. And thank you so much for watching.